Hi, I'm Chris Brunhaver here with PS Audio, and we're here in our Music Room 2 answering questions about speakers and room acoustics and sound in general. I steer clear a little bit of topics that I'm not an expert on here. So I'm here doing speaker design for the company, so that's really the focus of my Q&A videos here, is to sort of supplement some of the great work that Paul's already doing there. So this is a question from Jonathan in Garden City, Long Island, and his question is about home audio versus car audio. What's the relationship between them? As a 20-year-old a knowledge leeching audiophile, I'm pleased to say that your videos have satisfied my intellectual appetite. Thank you. Well, you're welcome. As someone who is equally as passionate about car audio as home audio, I find it peculiar that neither industry hardly addresses the other. Does either one have a sense of superiority? Is engineering the necessary components for each medium really that different? Well, I can't really speak to people's sense of superiority. I'm sure there's some of that out there, but I actually grew up where my father had a hi-fi business, but my first real audio system was actually a car audio system where I put put sub-amp and subwoofers in my parents' Suburban and, new component speakers and things like that. Car audio can be a lot of fun, and it's sort of a gateway drug for a lot of guys. You're seeing less of it nowadays than you used to, just because the stock audio systems are better and better and sort of harder to integrate with, to upgrade. It's not just putting a deck and two speakers in a car anymore makes an improvement. And but you still do see car audio for sure, and it's a great way to get into the business. A lot of guys that used to be car audio installers, I know, moved into the custom integration home theater side of the business because they got tired of crawling under people's dashes, so now they're crawling in people's attics. But it's a good business. The problem is, cars have a bunch of inherent acoustical problems, and a different set of challenges than a home. There was a web forum I used to be a part of called DIY Mobile Audio, that the moderators had something like a signature line that said, you can buy great sounding audio components, but you can't buy a great sounding car, or something like that. And the issues you run into in a car are a multitude of. One of them is obviously road noise. When you drive down the road, there's a huge amount of noise, even in a well isolated car. It's just so much louder than in a home. And a lot of a good sounding system is actually a very quiet room. And high dynamic range in a system relates to the louds and the soft, and all of the detail gets lost when you have ambient noise that's high. So that's a big issue. There's also masking that happens with that, so you tend to need more low frequencies in a car just because of rumble of road noise and things like that. The other issue is you're surrounded by glass in a car, very close to you, very acoustically close, where there are early reflections that are unavoidable that cause smearing, comb filtering, lots of different artifacts. The other thing is there are panel resonances where you tend to mount speakers in car doors. They are made out of rather thin plastic typically, and you can damp these with constrained layer damping techniques and other things. But also needs to be vent holes in there for leakage out of your windows, and even when you're doing custom enclosures or other things, there's just lots of inherent challenges in a car. One thing that a car can do is incredibly high amounts of bass, because you're inside of a vessel that is sealed quite well, and so you get a large cabin gain, or it's a combination of sort of being in an 8-space loading, so you're inside of a cube basically, and then there's also a vessel gain of the air actually pressurizing in the vehicle. So below about 40 hertz in a car, you get a 12 dB per octave boost or so. So you're able to get huge ultra low bass in a car, but there's all kinds of other challenges. Mid bass, and particularly resonances and other things, that's really challenging. So I think it's hard to do audiophile level sound in a car, but car audio is a big business. In fact, Samsung bought Harman for Harman Motive for Harman Automotive just because, or like Infinity was bought by Harman for their car division because it's just huge business. Even though it's not ultra high end stuff, there's every car has 5+ speakers in it, and so in aggregate, a lot of the R&D and a lot of the sales is in OEM Automotive, and it's just getting more so with infotainment stuff. And I've seen, there's a lot of neat technologies in car because where the people are seated, and it's a consistent environment all the time. So there's some tricks you can do with DSP and correction and all kinds of things, where you can actually get, surprisingly good sound for the kind of budgets these guys are dealing with. So yeah, I don't think that there's, that big a difference, fundamentally, in speaker systems from car to home. But there's the acoustic environment is different enough that the resulting solutions are a lot different. I hope that people are welcoming. I think that's the one takeaway that I would have is that we're all loving music in some way, and I don't think it's good to stick your nose up at anyone, whether their primary listening is in a car or by headphones or anything else. And I think you sort of have to meet people where they are and sort of try to take it further as music lovers and as lovers of the technology and the hobby and everything too. So anyway, appreciate where you're coming from, and as a 20-year-old, you're asking the right questions here, Jonathan, and we hope we can talk to you again soon. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.